Good evening, everyone. We are back on the broadcast, back on TV, if you will, or Twitch in today's modern times. And this is Dave Anderson coming to you live for another really exciting CMS race at Fuji. We're going to have 75 minutes tonight. And normally I am joined by my good buddy Ryan Thompson, but Ryan had a little minor procedure done medically. Nothing to be concerned with, but can't be here this evening, and so I've got a new friend, a good buddy of mine, Mark Johnson, with me here tonight. And Mark, I'm excited to have you. How are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited to be here. It's going to be a fun thing. I'll say from on behalf of all the drivers that are normally in this series, thank you to you and Ryan and what you guys do because we really appreciate the broadcast. It's fun to go back and watch it, and it's so cool having you guys that know the drivers and kind of interact with everybody, getting everybody their shout outs. It's a great time to watch. So thank you for that. But I'm excited to be a part of it. I wanted to kind of pitch in, and I knew Ryan was going to be out, and I had the availability, so I thought I'd sit this one out and get to watch a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's I'm super excited to have you. We're going to have another really big field tonight. So Mark and I are going to get to call what's hopefully another great race. We've got a lot of battles that we'll talk about in the championship. Cars are just now going out to qualifying. You can see that we're just looking at some scenes from Fuji. Spectacular track. This is the second of three big races this week for us here at Champion Motorsports. So we started out with our Porsche Cup Series this past Sunday. Huge congratulations to Michael Parker for winning that race. We're here tonight for 75 minutes, and then we will be here on Sunday for the 3-hour endurance race. And Mark, I know you're going to be driving in that one in the prototype too, so you'll probably learn some things tonight, even just watching these GT3 cars.
Yeah, I've kind of started my prep there, and that was also kind of my thought process behind sitting out tonight. Was that I'm kind of getting in the mindset of driving a prototype versus a GT car, and kind of thought I'd focus in on that since I've done some laps in that. But yeah, definitely going to watch the fast guys and see what they're doing because I could pick up some stuff. And Fuji's going to be a real challenge. I was kind of thinking about some of the things that these guys are going to have to watch out for. Tire wear is going to be a big one, and then the pit strategy around that tire wear. Do you take 2 tires? Do you take 4 tires? Since this is a 75-minute race, the fuel is going to be longer, so I'm sure you're going to see guys go for 4. They may lose 2 or 3 seconds on the delta between taking 4, but I bet most of them go that direction. And I'd say almost everybody at least takes 2 because the fronts just get beat up with these long sweepers in transitions here.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, Mark, that you call out. We've so far this season, we've got most of the races have been 60 minutes in length. We may have had one 75-minute already. I'd have to go back and look, but we've seen a variety of strategies in the 60-minute races. We had Paul Darling win a race earlier this season when he was able to make it the whole way without fuel. We've seen gas and go at the end. We've seen guys split it up in 2. But tonight, with the extra 15 minutes in the race, it's going to make a difference. So we're with Justin Hess out here. Mark, somebody we know well, one of the admins here at CMS. He's back full-time racing with us, looking solid as usual as we ride along with him here in qualifying.
Yeah, Justin's one quick guy. It's funny. He took a little time off, I guess, a year or 2 ago, and we hadn't heard from him. And then he jumps back in, and I think his first race, he had a little bit of a struggle just kind of getting back into the car. But race number 2 and 3, and I think this might be his 4th race back. And here I am looking at him, and he's in the top 3 so far. So definitely a fast guy, always in contention. Yeah, he's one of those guys that's always in the top 3, 4, 5 easily.
Yeah, and I think he's on the verge of putting together a win. Here's Max Muir. Max was the winner last week. Really one of the more dominating performances that we've seen in the season so far. Joined the league the same night and got in here and raced with us, and certainly made an opening statement riding along with him in his cockpit. It'll be interesting to see if he can repeat. I don't remember, Mark, if you were racing last week or not. I don't think you were.
Yeah, I've missed what I can't remember. I think the race before VIR was my last race.
Yeah, so you didn't get the opportunity to chase this guy, and boy, it was a chase. Everybody was second fiddle to him last week. He came in and burst onto the scene, if you will, and so I'm really excited to have him with the league. Just one more guy up front that is super, super quick and going to be a lot of fun. Also, the provisional pole setter right now, so we'll see what he does here. He's got another lap going to come on the board. He's on the board right now with a 34.435. That was not any faster. It was a 6.37. So we'll go on with Hunter McRoby now. Hunter has also been a driver we've been talking a ton about. He's won 2 races in a row, I believe now. I'm going to validate that. But has really been strong in the, and yeah, that is correct, 2 in a row for Hunter. He has definitely put himself out there as the man to beat in the AM class.
Yeah, I'll just kind of toot CMS's horn here, but when you've got guys like that, especially like you're telling the story about Max joining the league on the same day that he comes in and starts racing, and then shows off his talent, it kind of shows off the overall league talent when guys like that want to be a part of this. You've got people coming in saying, "Hey, there's a deep field. I want to go and race those guys." I mean, there's nothing better than putting yourself up against the very best you can find.
Yeah, and I think that's that's what we love about the community is that we're able to have guys that are been around forever and been doing this with us for 15 or 20 years, and guys that are new, and everybody just sort of fits in together. A lot of cars we're seeing stopped on the track now. That's kind of a benefit of the sim racing product. You don't always have to drive all the way back to the pits. Here's Douglas Hintz is still on the track. Out here, looks like he's turning a hot lap in the Cyberpunk 2077 Dakar, which is one of my favorites because I played the game and I absolutely loved it. So, Mark, I don't know that you and I are pretty good buddies, but I don't know if you're an Xboxer or a PS5 guy, or you do any of that stuff when you're not racing.
No, iRacing's pretty much all I do as far as gaming. I've got a PS4 that's collecting dust down on the TV, and you kind of get in with when you got kids and all that. You kind of say, well, I gotta kind of pick one thing, and iRacing is kind of my pick there, just because I know what I'm gonna get. But did like everybody grew up on Forza and all that kind of stuff, but pretty much iRacing's all I do.
Yeah, I like to dabble in a lot of it myself. No time to do any of it well, but I try, play with a lot of different things. And Cyberpunk was captivating enough game that it held my attention. So it was fun stuff. We're doing a quick rundown here. This is kind of how things look. We've got just a couple minutes left in qualifying. We're riding along with David Nelson right now. David, one of the cars still on the track. We've only got about 3 or 4. Right now, from a standings perspective, Max Muir is our pole sitter provisionally. Jose Ramirez is in second, and that is a season high, I believe, for Jose. Not sure that we have seen him that far up in the standings this year. Just a wonderful lap for him with a 34.590. That'll be a new name kind of in the top 2 or 3, top 5 drivers. Miguel Colon currently in third. Victor Tanaka in fourth. Michael Parker, who was the winner in the Porsche Cup Series earlier this week, is in fifth. That's the pro class. In the AM class, we've got Hunter McRoby. I take that back. Gabriel Albano has set the pole time tonight with 9th overall and a 135.144. So Gabriel's a driver we've talked a lot about, and fantastic to see him. What looks like possibly will be a pole tonight, unless anything changes. Hunter McRoby in second, Scott Kennedy third, Billy Massengale fourth, and Larry Ford putting out a lap there. That's a nice sight to see. How about Larry, Mark? Guy you and I know well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's let's see, what'd you say? He was fifth or
Yeah,
fourth?
fifth. Yeah, fifth
I
tonight.
mean, that's great. I mean, you kind of look at the names around him. He's a little quicker than Stephen Yanni, John Taylor Tammy, Joshua Burke. There's a lot of guys that's a great lap from Larry for sure. There, proud of that.
Yeah, definitely proud of that. It's good to see Larry. We know Larry. He's Mark and I have the privilege of racing with him as a teammate on the Longhorn Racing team, and which is one of the the many teams here amongst CMS members. And Larry always very animated on the radio when we're all talking together, and so I'm sure he's over there on the Longhorn Discord hamming it up after that lap. So just phenomenal. And and talking about Larry a little bit more as the drivers start to grid up, Larry is quietly having a really good season. He's made every race so far. He's in 9th position in the championship battle. And really, I think a realistic top 5 points effort is within reach for him. So going a long way towards making progress on that with that lap for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the things that on the Longhorn team that we kind of talk about and kind of focus on is consistency. And getting a little bit quicker, but the outright speed has never been the ultimate goal. And I think that's what you see from Larry. I remember the Barcelona race, had some obstacles, had some people spinning around him, and like you talk about being animated on the radio. I was in the top 10 or so, and Larry and Mike Tyler were a little bit further back, and hearing them telling me all the guys that were spinning out around him, and kind of costing them time, costing them positions, because you got to watch out for those, and but at the same time he came back. He stayed with it and came back and held that consistency.
Yeah, and we're looking at Larry here now on the grid, and listening to, unless you've kind of been there, you can't have an appreciation for it. Mark and I, have the privilege of listen, having the opportunity to listen to Larry and Mike on a Discord chat, and they they will keep you on your toes and B laughing. So here they both are in the matching cars here. Mike also with a solid lap as well tonight. So and these two are all they're the best of friends and also heavy competitors. So going to be great to see them run tonight. So the other one we talked about, Mark, in qualifying was Jose Ramirez. So this is Jose in this Penguin RC car with the looks like sort of a take on the Starbucks colors in Liberty. Or livery, but this was a driver that I thought was a surprise to see up here on the front row tonight. So this is kind of cool.
Yeah, real quick, I'll go back and point something out here. P20 through Mike Tyler, who you spoke about, at P33 are all within a second. So that midfield is going to be really, really competitive.
Yeah.
And then. Looking at Jose here. Yeah, what is that? It says coffee something. Let me take a look here at the logo. I can't pick it out.
Yeah, and also we're seeing a beautiful paint scheme from Max Muir. So was in here with kind of just a basic livery last week, but has a beautiful chromium type paint scheme on his Ferrari. So just looking fantastic out here. And here they go. We're going to get started right here coming around the final corner.
They're going to have to be patient here. This is a real big opportunity for some stack up deep in the field. So these pace leaders are going to have to really wait. You got to wait a long time for the pace car to come off before you get the green lights, because this is such a long front straight. Right. So they're going to have to be patient in the midfield. You can't try and get a jump here, otherwise you're going to stack up and ruin cars before the green flag. But yeah, they're about off.
Yeah, and it's super tight turn 1. So even you see the pace car peel off here, they still have to hold, and we'll see this in the IRTES race on Sunday as well. It's a late green flag here. Normally we have an acceleration zone, which we do have defined in the IRTES race for Sunday, whereas here in the GT3 Sprints we go on green, and you can still see they're still waiting for the green. So it's a late green. Here they go. They're going to fan out, just like we saw in Porsche Cup. Fan out. Max Muir's going to go down here and protect the inside line. Everybody in orderly behavior, but 5 wide. Yeah, 4 or 5 wide into turn 1. They get through clean. Everyone so far is clean. Looking back, I don't see any issues. We'll go back and report on anything that we may catch. But so far, looks like we're off to a clean start. Max has been able to get out front. This is Victor Tanaka. Miguel Colon is in second. Jose Ramirez got jumped on that start, so he has not been up here mixing it up with these guys up front, and fell back to 4th from the front row. So not the start that he wanted But I also see that Jose Carrera is here as well, and I know what's happening here is Jose Carrera and Jose Ramirez. This is the TPRT team, and these are front runners in the IRTES series. And so even though they haven't been in a lot of the races this season, they are here tonight because they know Fuji's coming up this Sunday, and that's going to be a huge race for them. So they're here to get their laps in, Mark.
Yeah, that's a great move by those guys. Come in here, you get an hour and 15 minutes to test tire wear, setup, fuel mileage. You know, you can obviously learn the track and how it drives with other cars. So that's a really smart move to come in and get some seat time. But Tanaka just hit a sausage curb. Several guys did.
Yep, several guys hit that sausage curb, and you and I were just, and look, coming to the pits. Miguel Colon is coming to the pits.
I think he has a penalty.
Oh, he does. Okay, Miguel Colon may have a penalty to serve. If that's the case, I missed that. But on the pit road. But we did see on Sunday that sausage curb coming out of the final corner is death. And we saw Cameron Barker and some other drivers from up front hit that thing. And as you could see, that was not an arcade kind of thing. I mean, it looked like it is. And of course, this is a game that we play or a simulation. But it will shoot you in the air and destroy the bottom of the car, potentially give you a meatball flag unless you get lucky. So, Mark, I'm concerned. It's going to be interesting to see if some of those guys, and I counted 3 or 4 of them, hit it if anybody has to come to the pits.
Yeah, I saw Tanaka at the first car, and then, like you say, 2 or 3 cars behind him did it. And then, Tanaka lost to Jose Ramirez on the front straight, but got him back into T1. I'm looking, I don't see any damage, but, if you go on YouTube and look up Tanaka's off to the left there and back on again. So he's going pretty defensive right now. He knows there's fast guys behind him, and he's going to have to work to keep them behind him. But there's some videos of real cars hitting those sausage curbs. There's a little contact, and it will put you up in the air like that, and obviously in real life do a little damage to your back probably at the same time. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see his 2, 3, 4, 5 here battle. Look at P1. He's way out in front.
Right. He's got a 3.5, almost 4-second lead now. We ride on with Michael Parker right now, but from about 2nd till about 6th or 7th, they are bunched up tight.
And goes Tanaka defensive.
Yeah, going defensive down here into 1. Looks like the car's going to make the move on the outside. That's he's going to make it stick, it looks like. Maybe not. Victor's able to hold him off. Ramirez is all over him. He's got his teammate right behind him. Michael Parker right behind him. Justin Hess, we talked about, is in this battle. DJ Alessandrini, one of our pro drivers as well. We've got a big battle up front. And as Mark said, the only car we don't see here is Max Muir. He has checked out just like last week. So if Max can keep doing that, Mark, he's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, well, he's obviously got the pace. These guys behind him are going to have to be the ones that figure out, listen, we've got to stop battling for a little while and either try and catch this guy, because if not, he's going to drive off.
Yeah, and then we're just racing for 2nd place, right? Let's take a look.
He's, on the other hand, sitting there in the mirror going, hey, guys, keep it up. Keep fighting. This is making it great for me.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's thinking. So, meanwhile, Hunter McRoby has assumed the lead in the AM class. So this is him in the red and black BMW in a dogfight here with a whole bunch of cars around him. That's James Gong, DJ Alessandrini in the McLaren just ahead. So McRoby looking really, really strong as the AM leader continues to kind of make a big statement. In fact, that's, he's going now and passing DJ Alessandrini, who's been a pro race winner in this series. And Alessandrini almost looks like he's off the pace here in the orange McLaren, Mark. He's letting several cars go here.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a different track, and I don't know necessarily what's going on with him right now, but, your pace may be a little bit different here than normal. I'm going to pop back in the field just a little bit. Larry Ford, who we mentioned, got spun on lap 1, and he's back to 33rd place, so I know he's not going to be happy with that.
No, he's not. Let's look at Larry here. We're on with him now. Take a look at the car, see if we see any issues. I don't see any issues.
Yeah, it looked like he got a little bumper, and in the kink, and that's all you need right there.
Yeah, it is. And I do see here that I'm going to go back. It looks like we did have an accident at the beginning of the race. This was at the very start of the race. Peter Hebron, David McNichols. This is going back, looking at a replay. We've had some cars around here. It looked like it was Peter Hebron who went around, and several cars kind of came and made contact. So, and that's where you can see Larry was off as part of that as well. So they were all sort of taking evasive action. We also talked about Mike Tyler. Here's Mike, this purple Lamborghini. Mike had an issue. So, and I see what it was there. He had to take evasive action to avoid Anthony James, who had spun. But no harm, no foul. Maybe a little bit of contact there for Mike, but nothing to be too concerned about. Larry Ford, again, we ride with him. Looks like maybe another issue. Here's Larry spinning again. So yeah, things have gone from and he's hit there. Things gone from bad to worse for him, Mark.
Yeah, that's one of the most frustrating things. Is when you put together good qualifying, you're minding your own business, and that might be a factor of trying to push now. You're behind, you've lost some spots that you have pace for, and just trying to push a little bit further than you should.
Yeah, and it looks like Larry's got a little bit of damage now, and he that was a difficult section of the track where he kind of started to roll back a little bit. Probably should have been a little bit more careful there. But was hit by another car. I think it was John Reimerchuk as he goes around a car spun in turn one. I think to your point, pushing, and that has a lot to do with it. Meanwhile, while all this is going on and we're talking about it, we are looking at this point, 10 minutes into this race, less than 10 minutes into this race. Look at this lead. It is 6.5 seconds that this gentleman that you can see ahead with this big group of cars chasing Max Muir. He has checked out and doubled that lead since we left to talk about a few of the other events.
Yeah, like I said, he's more than happy with those guys fighting in the back there. I mean, he's running low 135s consistently here, and looking at Victor, he's at the 135.5 with his fastest lap. So, and a lot of that's battling. That's not outright pace, but that's Victor trying to hold on to second. And then, as we talked about, so second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh almost are all pretty close to nose to tail.
Yeah, and
that's the thing. Oh, sorry to step on you there. Victor knows if he just lets P3 go, well, there's P4 right behind him ready to go also. So there's not one of these, hey, let's let this guy go and keep moving forward because you're just going to get mugged by the next guy.
Yeah, you will. You'll end up losing 5-6 positions, and you can't afford to do it. Meanwhile, we kind of ride on board here in the cockpit with Max Muir, and just so smooth on all of his inputs, using every inch of the track, hitting all the apexes. There's a lot of interesting angles on this track, and you can tell that this gentleman is definitely ready for the night.
Yeah, this is one of the tracks, kind of like COTA, in my opinion, that equipment actually does start to make a pretty big difference in that if you've got a wide screen monitor or triples or VR, you're going to be at a big advantage to the single monitor guys just because you have to look to the apex and it's off the screen on a single screen. So, most of the time, fast guys are going to be fast no matter what kind of equipment. And that'll always stand true, but it'll definitely be an advantage when you can actually look into the apex and make it, because that third sector is really tricky.
Yeah, it really does. And we're using the GT layout for the track, and I mean, we look at this long line of cars coming down. Every one of these are for position, folks, as you watch, but that third sector, even with us removing the main chicane, is still super, super tight. So you've got to just be really intentional. And if you just get off in even the slightest way off your line, it really kind of kills the lap. So being smooth here is really, really important. And Victor is, we're back here with Victor Tanaka. It's settled down here a little bit. Looks like, he's not having to defend quite as much. They've kind of settled down. Maybe these guys have... and around is Jose Ramirez. He got really loose there. I'm going to rewind this. in just real time here. Let's watch what happened to Jose. It's going to be this pink car. And
That's Jose Carrera.
Yeah, Jose Correa. Yeah, I'm going to I've got it paused. Go back here, and he just loses it. Barely misses Michael Parker, and really a great recovery on his part. But, like you talked about before, any sort of bobble, and that was one we saw there, that cost him about 3 or 4 positions.
Yeah, and that's another really, really tricky portion of the course. You've got that really long right-hand sweep where it's basically a double apex. And, you kind of got a thought to make there. You can have ultimate speed, but you're going to wear your tires out. Or you can kind of let off, brake, and rotate the car. And it looks like what he was doing is kind of letting off. Like you're kind of talking about settling into the pace of the race a little bit instead of pushing so hard. The problem is, in this mid-engine Lambo, when you let off on a sweeper like that, you got to be very careful, otherwise the back will step out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that car can be, it's fun to drive, but can be a little finicky. You need, the right downforce in it, and sometimes it needs a little bit more than some of the other cars. But we'll have to see how he recovers. The interesting thing here now too is that he and his teammate Jose Ramirez had a shield because they were second and third place in these TPRT cars, who are heavy contenders in our iRacing Team Endurance Series. In fact, I believe they took the championship last year in the GT3 category. And for them to be here tonight, like we talked about, it's good to see them, number one, a good test for them, number two. But now they're split up. Now they've got 3 or 4 cars between them. And one of those includes our AM leader, Hunter McRoby. So somebody's going to come knocking on this guy's door, Mark, and be talking to him about moving to pro, I think, before too long, if he continues to dominate the way he is. He is driving terrific.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not sure what the admin's threshold is there. And I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, the guy should be pro or not. I'm not sure. But at the same time, if you're running in the top 5, you've got some outright pace there. I mean, that there's no joke there. And so it's like you say, if not mid-season, probably for next season, they'll probably be saying, hey, why don't you run for the overall.
Yeah, and we saw that actually with Stephen Yanni last season. Let's check in on Stephen. Here he is in 14th position. Stephen Yanni in this Ferrari, a great-looking car, currently in 14th. A solid run for him tonight, by the way. He's currently sitting in 3rd position in the AM class. And Stephen was the champion and held off Scott Kennedy, I believe, for that championship. They're actually racing. That's Scott Kennedy just ahead of him in the Dog Bear Audi. But he elected, kind of voluntarily to move into the pro category this season. And I, like you, Mark, I'm not sure exactly what the criteria is. I, leave that up to the experts, Tim Collier and Ryan Thompson, Liam Park, the guys that run the series. I do think that there is a sort of a, to some degree, it's on the honor system where you check in and you put yourself where you think you need to be. And generally, I think we respect that. What we want to do is have an environment that's fun, and I'm sure if Hunter continues to do the way he's doing, he'll have the self-awareness as well to push himself to see if he can't compete for wins with the top guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like you say, you kind of put yourself in there and say, do I want to go for the AM championship and kind of see how that goes, and like you said, I think everybody here wants to win where they or compete where they deserve to compete, and so if you feel like you're getting easy wins, you may not be happy. There's a little punt there. Wow. So I was watching Justin Hess. He was catching Jose Correa like we were talking about. And then DJ Alessandrini just got punted by James Gong a little bit.
I'm going to go back and watch that. And we also have an ask for an update on Billy Massengale in the chat. We'll get to that. Here's the punt. It's James Gong. Was on the inside of DJ Alessandrini, and Alessandrini really struggling tonight by his standards. Looked like he was beaten there. He was not happy with that. You could see almost a side swipe going back on James Gong. He gave him a shot back there to let him know that he was there. I'm sure the stewards aren't going to like that from either of those drivers, and of course they're going to have to settle down. But Alessandrini, when he's here, he is usually at the very, very top of the order. But we saw him struggling a little bit, and He's probably frustrated by that, Mark.
Yeah, I'm kind of watching back on it. James is in a draft of 4 or 5 cars, something like that. You're going to have a lot more. He's the fourth car back in a line, so you're going to have more speed than normal. Then you've got Alessandrini, who, like you said, is a really quick guy. He's really, really good on the brakes, so he may have checked up a little more than James. I mean, pretty innocent deal there. And then James does the gentleman's agreement and lets DJ back by, kind of an apology for the punt for sure. I know he did not intend to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did have somebody ask us out on the Twitch chat about Billy Massengill. Here's Billy. I'm going back in time here. Let's see what happens with Billy. Looks like he loses it on his own. Doesn't hit anything. This is the first of what I think were 2 issues for him. Gets back going. And we'll skip ahead here now. Here he is again, a little bit further, and it looks like he might have a second problem. Actually, there was the Cyberpunk car. That's Douglas Hintz had an issue, and he just had to check up for him. So that's what happened to Massengill. If we go live here to Massengill now, he has recovered. He's out there. That's Kevin Ayers next to him, who he's racing with in 22nd position. So doesn't look like it was anything too bad, but definitely lost some time.
Yeah, he just made a nice little move on Kevin there in turn 1, kind of, let Kevin do the over-under on him, but got back on the next kink. The main thing looking at Billy here, his lap times, all 137s. He got a 136 in there, and then he had his 2 problems, but he's right back into the 137, so
yeah, and
hopefully he's settled in.
Yeah, and as you say this, it looks like we've got a big story here. One of the leaders has had an issue, Jose Correa. We're going to watch Jose here now. Oh, this is not going to be good. Can he keep it off the wall? He does. So just pushing a little too hard. Comes back on the track, and I think we might be about to see another issue with him. I saw it out of the corner of my eye, and that's why I went back to this. Gets back out on the track here and resumes. We'll go a little further ahead, and I think may have the car breaks loose on him again there, and he's around again, and this time into the wall hard.
So I'm watching him here live. He's not pitting, so he doesn't have a meatball from that. But, yeah, certainly that's not going to do you any favors. A little bit of damage is going to slow you down on the straightaway, and then, mentally he's going to be questioning every time he goes to that corner for the next little bit.
Yeah, he is. Better to get this out of his system now before Sunday, right?
He's got Larry Ford behind him in 26, so he's made a couple spots up.
Yeah, Larry Ford behind him now here. Larry, we saw, kind of had a tough start to his race, and really good qualifying for Larry, but back in 26 and kind of clawing his way back into it. And to give you an idea where Larry runs right now, so we've got Hunter McRoby in first place in the AM division. Second is Gabriel Albano. Third is Scott Kennedy. Joe Steifel in fourth. Jeff Adams fifth. Dave Nelson sixth. Billy Massengill seventh. Pierre Robitaille eighth. Mike Tyler 9th, Jack Clark 10th, and so Larry is sitting in the 11th position right now. And let's actually do a little bit of a rundown and kind of call out the top 10 guys. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's just kind of shout out to him. This is Jack Clark. So Jack in 10th position here at the moment in this BMW. I believe he is a teammate. I'm looking for confirmation of that, but I believe he is a teammate with Hunter McRoby because they drive just damn near identical cars. So either that is heavy coincidence or their teammates, but Jack has found himself in 10th position tonight. Just ahead of him is Mike Tyler. So we saw Mike with some issues earlier in the race as well. That's Jose Correa behind them, by the way, one of the leaders who is now having to claw his way back through this field, and he's going to have to get around. These are some of those mid-pack drivers you talked about, Mark, that are competitive. And it's the further up you go on these guys, it's going to be harder and harder to get around them. As we see Tyler holding off Jack Clark, making a pass for the move.
Yeah, that move by Jack Clark cost him some time. So here goes Jose by him. He's going to split these two AM drivers for a little while. I think he'll probably get by Mike here in the next half a lap or so, something like that, and let Jack and Mike get back to their battle.
Right, and then that's going to let Larry, who you see back there as well, come back into it. So, yeah, he's all over Mike Tyler now. If we go up a little bit further, about another 3 or 4 seconds, this is Pierre Robitaille. Pierre is having a solid race tonight. Just ahead of him is Billy Massengale. We talked about Billy. Billy had those issues earlier. Some of the guys were asking in the chat about that. Looks like he's recovered, and long way to go here. We've got an hour in the race left still, so plenty of time for Billy to work his way back up. David Nelson, shout out to David here in the blue Porsche, having a really strong run, well within the top 10 here. So nice to see David having a good run, and I know he's got a lot of potential and always improving. So hope that he'll continue to do well, Mark. I know he's a guy you and I raced with a little bit too in some of the endurance stuff.
Yeah, was he? He was on one of the races we just did, one of the longer ones. I can't remember which one, but yeah, one of those guys that we kind of talked about it. Consistency, the overall outright pace. It's probably not alien level, but when you can put good laps together for an entire race, you're going to have some success.
Absolutely.
He's got a little trouble up here in front of him here with Rafael Sosa as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Rafael up there in the BMW. Joe Stifel, if you go up just ahead of those guys, Joe is having another solid run. He's been super competitive. Jeffrey Adams just ahead of Joe, having a nice run as well. And then we get up to our front runners in the AM class. Scott Kennedy here in the Dog Bear Audi. He is chasing Gabriel Albano. And it looks like Scott had a little bit of a blink out.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought he just disconnected, but he's back. Well, he's gone again.
Looks like he's having some sort of blink issue, so hopefully that won't cause any issues. But Scott having a solid run if he can keep his connection together. Gabriel Albano just ahead of him. Gabriel, we believe, is on the verge of winning one of these races in the AM class at any minute. In fact, the only thing preventing him from doing that is Hunter McRoby, who is in 5th position. So Hunter has checked out. This is Hunter here, and he's in 5th position. He is about 10 seconds up on Gabriel Albano. So that's kind of what's going on in the AM class. Some good battles happening kind of in that, bottom half of the top 10. Up here in the front, they are spread out a little bit more. And that's to be expected, Mark, because they're mixed in here with the pro guys up front as well. So you're going to have a little bit more separation.
Yeah, I was going to mention that as we were kind of talking with that battle between Billy, David, Claude Baval, Rafael Sosa, and Joe Stifel. A mixture of AM and Pro-Am guys, or AM and Pro. And remember, the points count. If you're an AM and you pass a Pro, you get the points for that next position. So there's, if that wasn't the case, there may be some smarts in just sitting behind a guy and not battling. But in this case, every position counts, so you may as well try and get the points if you can, regardless of class designation.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the things. I know Ryan and I are always talking about how we think that's a really creative way to go about it, because it then allows you to have both of the class races with Pro and Am, but every position matters because you're sharing that pool of points. And so this is the battle that Mark's talking about right now. We ride with Billy Massengale, David Nelson just ahead of him. Claude Baval is he's also a Dog Bear teammate in the Ferrari here. He is in this mix as well, along with Rafael Sosa. So these are a couple of pro drivers mixing it up with the AM drivers, and that's what's exciting. You see kind of some of the the third, second or third tier of the pro drivers and the top tier of the AM drivers. They blend together well and make for some good racing.
Yeah, I'll say, as a guy that's got a pro driver designation, when you've got that AM driver fighting you hard, you kind of want to say, "Hey, man, leave me alone." But he's wanting the points just as much as you are.
Absolutely. Yeah, it looks like JT Tammy may be on pit road. This could be one of our first pitters on strategy. So
yeah, he's pitting early. It looks like a normal stop there, although it's pretty quick. But
maybe working it backwards, you think? Mark?
Yeah, working it backwards a little bit. I don't know if he's counting on the track cooling off towards the end and saving his tires towards the end there, but that's an interesting strategy. We'll see how it pays off. He comes out right behind Miguel Colon, who remember, started up front or close to it, but had that penalty. So
Right, and
he's going to have Miguel, and hopefully he doesn't get in too much of a battle with him, but he may be able to kind of ride along with him and do a little undercut on some of those guys who's around. But JT's not having the race I know he wants. I think he pitted from 18th or something like that, and he wants to be higher than that for sure.
Yeah, and same thing for Miguel Colon.
DJ Alessandrini just disconnected. I wonder if he had further issues.
Oh, he did. Yeah, we'll have to go back and look at that here in just a second, and I'll do that. I'll go back and see if DJ had an issue. So that's another story that we'll get to here in just a moment. Before we do that, though, we ride on with Miguel Colon. So worth noting that Miguel did have a penalty that he needed to serve. I don't have that in front of me on what the penalty was, but Miguel was really coming into this race in the catbird seat tonight, because as we started tonight, he was only 10 points out of the lead in the championship behind Paul Darling, and Paul Darling is not here tonight. So Paul, has a lot going on. He does some real-world racing stuff. Paul came in as the championship leader, and Miguel Colon is struggling, and that's going to open the door for James Gong and Victor Tanaka. So we'll have to report on them as well and see how they're doing. But kind of like you said, Mark, with JT Tammy, Miguel Colon's not having the race he wanted either. After taking that penalty, he's only been able to get himself back to 31st place in a car in a field of 38. So he's got to be very disappointed with this.
Yeah, that was something I was going to mention earlier in the race is that will be something fun to watch, is having him come back through the field. I'm looking through the announcements here, and I don't see a penalty for Miguel in the last few races. So coming back from Imola.
So I'm wondering then.
Well, I don't know why he would have gone through. Maybe it's something from a previous carryover. But the one thing to keep in mind is while he's catching guys, there's still pit stops to be made.
Yeah, there are. And the other thing, that we saw right at the beginning of the race was there was all those guys that hit those sausage curbs. And I'm looking at this. We're gonna have to dig into that, and maybe that's something you can kind of help me do over time. But he was on pit road for 1 minute and 16 seconds, so it seems like if he had damage only, he would have come and taken the fast repair and gotten back out. So it feels to me like this was some sort of a stop and go or something, or a stop and hold. And I just don't
I'm gonna go,
have the data.
Okay, so he hit that sausage curb hard and made an immediate move. Oh, you know what? I'm going to tell you what happened right now. I can see it. So he hit the sausage curb, probably got an immediate meatball flag. He'd cut the pit entry. This pit entry goes way far back. If you look at the white line, you have to be inside of that white line. He cuts it and then comes in for service. So It looks like he might have taken his fast repair. Let's see what the stop looks like here.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back. I have found the incident here. Here's the incident where Miguel... He came in. We've gone all the way back to the beginning of the race. And the reason this is significant, folks, and we want to report on this, is because this is our driver that is really up front in the championship standings. I'm going to ride along with him here. He comes off this last corner, takes a bad bump. You can see it there off that sausage curb, and immediately comes to pit road. And what Mark has found is that he cut this entrance. You can see he cuts that white line. You can't do that. And that ended up being what caused Miguel Colon all the grief that he had. But he had no other choice to get to pit road. And it's unfortunate that the game penalized him for that. But, it is what it is. That's some of the limitations, if you will, of, a simulation. But you can hear the car, Mark, as he came to pit road here. It was not in good shape on the underbody of that Mercedes.
Yeah, as soon as he hits that sausage curb, you can see the sparks start to fly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I can't tell you what the car was driving like in that situation. I think if you asked him and said, hey, can you do it again? He would probably say, I should have completed that lap. But also the meatball might have not have popped up till he was right there, and he just saw the pits and said, hey, I'm going to jump in, not realizing that rule for that white line. But that's something we should probably watch out through as pit cycle start. Make sure guys are following that, because that's probably, I think, a 45-second penalty if you take service and cut the entry.
Absolutely, and we are seeing a few cars that are pitting kind of back in the field at this point. One of the things that we wanted to touch on briefly here were with our leader, just to give a quick update there on what's happening overall. This is Max Muir, who has built his gap to 15 seconds now. So he has absolutely just driven away with this thing in dominant fashion. Victor Tanaka is 15 seconds back of him and still in a very tight battle. This is second, third, and fourth position here, all racing together. This is Tanaka, Jose Ramirez, and Michael Parker. And the person who's going to benefit the most, if we were to just capture this in time right now from a championship perspective, is going to be Tanaka, because he came into this race 23 points out of the championship battle in pro. Miguel Colon, we've talked about with issues. Paul Darling is not here tonight. And so Tanaka is the front runner, if you will, of the championship contenders. The other one to report on is also having a solid race. That's James Gong. James Gong here in 7th position. We saw the issue with him earlier where had some contact with DJ Alessandrini, who has now disconnected. We also believe in doing a little digging that DJ may have just called it a night. Was struggling a little bit, had the issue. We don't see that he had any sort of a wreck, so may have just decided that it was time to kind of, park the car and go watch TV or something.
Yeah, I was just looking at that same thing. He had a little half spin in the long right-hand sweeper on his last lap that he completed, and then just came in straight to the pits and disconnected. So, like you say, maybe a little bit of frustration. I don't know if there's a little bit of lingering damage from that punt, possibly costing him some downforce. You never know on that kind of thing. But yeah, for a guy that's normally in the top 3, for somebody that's maybe down below the top 10 as he decides to retire, might have just thought he had better use for his time.
Yeah, he may have him. And as we... Oh, and there's a wreck right as I come back to it. Victor Tanaka is around, Mark. He was under heavy pressure. I'm going to go right back to that and show it to you in real time. Tanaka under heavy pressure from Jose Ramirez, and he just loses it. Doesn't hit anything. Great save on his part, but loses positions to Ramirez and Parker. Does not get passed by Hunter McRoby. That's Hunter McRoby behind him. But wow, I was just coming back to that to talk about this battle, and sure enough, as I did, Tanaka pushing a little bit too hard, got the car upset on some of that runoff area, and lost a couple of positions there.
Yeah, that's a tricky spot. You can get a 1X, and I think maybe even a slowdown if you're too aggressive there. So he was definitely trying to come back onto the circuit from, being off onto that curb, and there's just a little bump there that he caught, and it upset the car. Like you say, a really nice save. He's not going to be happy with that for sure.
No, he's not, right? And so now what we've got, this is the closest battle on the track of significance, Michael Parker and Jose Ramirez. So Jose is in second. His teammate, who we talked about earlier, Jose Carrera, had quite a bit of trouble and is in 19th. Parker in third. Parker coming off the win this past weekend at the Porsche Cup race here. And, Mark, I got to think, we talk about drivers and teams, and, there's a whole big thing coming up on Sunday with IRTES. I got to think whoever Michael Parker's driving for, they're going to have a solid result as long as he's in the car on Sunday.
Yeah, that's one of the guys, every time you look, he's at the top of the list. I mean, if he's not winning, he's podium. And, that comes down to pace and consistency both. These other guys having trouble. And what's he doing? He's just kind of lurking there. He's in 5th, now he's in 4th, now he's in 3rd. His other guys kind of drop out.
Yeah, and Michael has kind of that, unique ability of he's super fast and he's super consistent. And, it's just sort of the complete driver. And one that we're really proud of to have in our community. I've known Michael, I've talked about this before, for many, many years. And Mark, I know you did some SCCA stuff and some autocrossing. Michael and I did a lot of that together, did some track days together. He was kind of living here in the DFW area. He's moved out to California with his lovely wife since then. But and we seeing them going around some lap traffic here. Just a great guy, and great to see someone who's such a good person have such great success.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I think one of my favorite parts of this league is after the race, jumping in the Discord and just chatting with everybody, finding out how everybody's race is. And that's one thing, sitting there. And Michael's kind of one of those guys. He's almost always there as well. And always positive, always kind of coming out, enjoying the race. You can tell while he's competitive, he's enjoying it. He's not doing it just out of the competitive part of it. He's having a good time. I was going to bring up, too, the lap traffic. These guys are having a battle. They're going to start going through some of these lap traffic guys, and we had a little dust up earlier in the season, or it might have been a little at the end of last season. Some of the fast guys not real happy with some of the lap guys, but you know what? Everybody's having a race out there, and this isn't Formula One. They don't have to move over for you. So you got to be prepared to get around the lap guy and try and lose as little time as possible.
Right, and some of these guys having these races back in the field, I'm one of those ones that are usually in those battles. We've got our own thing going on, and those positions and battles and relationships are important to us. And I think I've got a report here again, unfortunately, not one that he's going to be happy with. It looks like Larry Ford, maybe this was just a pit issue. Seeing him come off pit road, so it was not an accident. It was Leonard Burke here that had the issue. Leonard Burke looks like same kind of thing that happened to Jose Correa, kind of hit a bump and into the wall. So, and then I erroneously thought that was Larry Ford. Larry was just coming into the pits for service, but Leonard Burke having a tough night. Finds himself back in 35th position, 2 laps down, so...
Yeah, he cut that sausage curb on the kink a little too much, upset the car, and unfortunately, this track has a lot of runoff, so you can get away with a lot. But he found the wall, even though he slid off the track probably 60 feet. But that kink is interesting. CMS has decided to run with it. It's a little bit different than what probably the real life series run. And they, are doing that for safety and whatever other concerns. And this is the original configuration of the track, or not the original, but one of the faster configurations for sure. And I'll tell you, doing a little practice today, every time you go through that kink is a new adventure. It is never the same one lap to the next.
Right, it's really not. And as you were talking about that, Mark, I put the camera on Max Muir. He has come to the pits. So Max is the first one of the front runners in the top 18 right now who has been to the pits. So came from the lead. He's given the lead up temporarily to Jose Ramirez and Michael Parker. Decided to go ahead. Looks like he's maybe split this thing not quite in 2. He went a little more than, maybe it is. We got about 36 minutes left. So right about the halfway point for Max. Probably decided to come in, take tires. He's got enough of a lead that he could do that. And he's looking good on the track, and his livery looks amazing as well. This guy's the total package here tonight.
Yeah, I was going to point out a couple liveries. You've got his. You mentioned him earlier on. I was kind of going to bring up. Let's see, who was it? Oh, it was Pierre Robitaille.
Yeah, let me find Pierre here on the track. Here he is.
He's always in his Christmas livery. I gotta admire his festive spirit, because he's always got the wrapping paper livery there that cracks me up every time I see it. And there was another car that caught my eye. Let's see if I can find him here, and I'll point him out here in a second for you.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, I'll comment on Pierre as well. I know Ryan and I have talked about this as well. He's just kind of got that Santa Claus wrapping paper Christmas theme going, year round. Not having the race he wants to have tonight. Currently finds himself in 31st position. Had a lengthy stay on pit road, but hanging in there and looking good doing it. So that's part of it. You get credit for looking good doing it, and he looks great.
No doubt. And who I was going to bring up was Scott Kennedy. He's in the dog bear or the Doge bear. I'm not sure which they prefer.
It's a dog bear.
Yeah, dog bear. That's a sharp car, a little red, white, and blue, a little bit of chrome. It's a good-looking car for sure.
It is, and right now, as we're seeing the sun starting to go down here, Mark, if I'm not mistaken, you'll have to help me with what time of day it is, but as we do that, headlights are coming on. This is an amazing car, and Scott is having a hell of a run in it as well right now. We saw him blinking earlier like he had some connection issues. That seems to have stabilized. He's currently in 6th position here at the moment. Finds himself in second place, P2, behind Hunter McRoby. So Scott is having quite the race and quite the season. I'll give a quick update on the championship standings in the AM category, and Scott is the leader right now. So he's had one win this year at Sebring this season, and finds himself with a 7-point lead over Joshua Burke. And Joshua Burke is not having the race that Scott's having. So let's check in on Joshua. He's all the way back in 17th position. There's some damage on this car. I didn't see what happened to it, but this car has seen better days. So Joshua Burke is definitely, he's not been to the pits. So Mark, I think he's been driving a wounded car since the drop of the green flag. Maybe got caught up in something early, on the first lap or something.
Yeah, I'm going to look back here. He's got a 2:05 lap time there, so that's going to indicate something went wrong for him. I'll say with Joshua in our race in Barcelona, I was in that race, and he had a spin coming off the last corner here on back on lap 11, it looks like, and got a little damage in the wall. Let's see, he gets it straightened out and waits for the field to go by. 8-point turn there and back on track. So that's definitely going to hurt him. Yeah, he's got some severe front damage there.
So
back earlier in the race.
Assuming he'll come in and take the fast repair. Surprised that he hadn't already coming in and taken it, but probably just decided, I guess, at the time to stay out as long as he could. He should get the fast repair when he comes in. Currently finds himself in 17th position. So, all right, I'm going to do a quick field rundown here. We're coming up on about 30 minutes left in the race. Michael Parker is the current leader. Some of the other leaders are on pit road as we speak. Victor Tanaka, Justin Hess are both on pit road. So Michael Parker is our leader. He has not come to the pits yet. Neither has Jose Ramirez, right behind him. Michael did get around Jose, so that we saw these guys nose to tail a few laps ago. Michael was able to get around Jose and move up into that second position, but neither of them are the rightful sort of true leader. We know that is Max Muir, who had about a 15, almost 20-second lead when he came to the pits. So that's going to cycle out once these drivers come. But this is probably the battle for second position, and will remain so likely through the rest of the race. You see Jose Ramirez in second place just behind him. Drew Lidke is in third position in the Pro Class. Drew has not been to the pits yet. We've not talked about Drew tonight, but quietly having a very, very strong race. Drew continues to be extremely consistent, with also a solid pace. Mark, I know Drew's a driver you tend to find yourself racing with a lot, some of these events.
Yeah, we're pretty close in pace, so there's usually we'll find ourselves, whether it's at the beginning or the end, at some point in the race, we're usually within a position or two, battling with each other for sure. Drew's going to have a little bit of a trouble here, though, because Max Muir is behind him. Max has made his pit stop. Drew hadn't. That kind of gets, that's the risk when you're the leader and you pit early, is now you're midfield. Mm-hmm. You got guys a little bit slower than you that aren't going to want to give up time. And so, Michael Parker and Jose Ramirez and Hunter McRoby still even in third. They're hoping Drew battles his heart out against Max. Max is hoping Drew realizes what the scenario is and says, hey, don't fight me, let me go. And they're going to meet here pretty quick.
Yeah, they sure are. This is Max right behind him. Max is, even with his pit stop, still finds himself in sixth position in the Pro, actually sixth position overall, and he is in the fourth position in the Pro Class. And then fifth position in the Pro Class right now is Stephen Yanni. So we talked about Stephen. Stephen having a really solid race. He has also not been to the pits yet, and really, really, really strong race for Stephen here. So great to see him. He struggled a little bit, and maybe struggle isn't the right word. He was so strong and won several races in the AM division last season, but has not been able to be on the pointy end this season so far with the pros, which is to be expected, making that leap. But tonight he's having a super solid run and battling for a top 5, which is just terrific to see. So that's kind of how things look in the Pro Class right now. We're still waiting on the top 5 drivers on the track to pit. None of them have pitted yet, and we're coming up to about a little less than 30 minutes left in the race.
Just perusing Discord here. DJ Alessandrini says those sausage curbs can suck it. So we know where he feels about this racetrack.
Yeah,
One
sausage
guy
curb.
point out here, he's got a nice little battle with David Nelson as Chris Hudson. Probably not having the race he wants to have. Kind of looking back, I'll look, but he had a 2-minute lap there, back on lap 5. So
Yeah, and I'm watching
he
that
may have
battle
found
now.
some trouble.
Looks like Chris,
he got hit.
and he's trying to make the
in
move
P1.
now on David Nelson. So Chris recovering from the hit that you hear Mark talk about. Looks like he's going to try to draft David Nelson here now. David's going to let him go. But, you know, if Chris had the issue you're talking about, you know, he's still in 10th position, hasn't pitted yet, so, yeah, he's doing okay, right? Yeah, I'm sure he would want to be doing better, but setting some solid lap times. He ran a 36.2 that time by. That's pretty fast.
Yeah, he had to let some of the field go, and he'll get him back as they pit, and then he kind of catches up to him and gets to pit as well. You know, what happened to him, he's going into turn 1, and the guy behind him sees the vortex of danger, and it sucked him in. He thought that was a good spot, and you know, it's hard. Turn 1 is wide. It's a wide entry. It looks like there's space there, and if you miss your brake marker by just a few feet, you're going to be running into somebody.
Yeah.
And in this, you know, in a league situation, nobody wants to be that guy.
No, you don't.
You know, you feel really, really bad when you punt somebody. You know, it's one of those things. We're racing, you know.
Yep, and it's and that is a tricky corner. We're looking at Jose Ramirez coming off the track now, coming in from 3rd position to the pits. We'll set here with Jose, watch his pit stop. This will be interesting to see if he takes tires, Mark. I'm going to get outside the car here so we can see if he goes up on the jack stands for tires, or if this is just if he can stretch a set of tires the entire way. They've not lifted him up yet, so I'm thinking this is a gas only.
Yeah, you may be a second behind the race here because I see him out of the pits and he did not take tires.
Yeah, I am actually. Just kind of the whole broadcast rules were slightly just a couple of seconds behind,
Sure.
And he is setting here, taking what looks like just gas only. He probably could have almost taken fuel, tires with that, but didn't. But comes back out, slots into 11th position, and to give you an update or an appreciation of where that is on the track. He finds himself about 25, almost 30 seconds behind Max Muir. So that just goes, again, to tell you where this gentleman is, who we ride with again here, is, once this all sorts out, is going to find himself with a dominating lead in this race, Mark.
Yeah, I'd like to go back and look at Max and see if he took tires or not. Did you happen to note that?
It looks like he was on the lane for 49 seconds. I may be able to tell if he did.
Here, I can go back and look real quick. Yeah, he certainly did. Obviously, you can't tell in iRacing 2 or 4, but he got up on the jack. So he took tires. So it'll be really interesting to see. You know, Max is out front, right? So we kind of know, as long as he holds his ground and doesn't make a mistake, that's kind of settled at this point. But you kind of look at, back at Victor Tanaka and Jose Ramirez, and, you know, they're not nose to tail, but they're in close contact. And so it'll be interesting to see how the tires play out with 2nd, 3rd, 4th here. Right. As all the pit stops settle.
And it's gonna be interesting. Michael Parker of this group still has not come in, and I think when he does, he's going to find himself, you know, right back in this battle here with Tanaka, with Ramirez, and a few of these other folks. So this is kind of pretty close.
Michael Parker does really well with safe fuel, and, you know, I know that's a pretty typical strategy of his, is to just go as long as he can and have the shortest pit stop that he can at the end of the race.
Yeah, so we're going to see. You know, I have a feeling now that he's got a little bit of clean track, he hasn't been having a battle with those guys as much. He was able to make the pass of Jose Ramirez on the track. I have a feeling that Michael will come out in P2. You know, we'll have to see how it sort of sorts itself out. And I believe, we talked about Michael. He's one of many drivers. Many of these drivers will be in the iRacing Team Endurance Series on Sunday. And by the way, be sure to tune into that, everybody. We'll be on the air around 1500 GMT time with our friends from Apex Sim Racing TV, bringing that 3 hours team-based event with driver swaps here from Fuji. Michael will be in a prototype car. I want to say he's in an LMDH category car, Mark, on Sunday. I'll have to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure that'll be what he'll be in, which will be the third car he's driven. He drove a Porsche Cup car, and then and good battle happened in front of him here for position with Joe Stifel and Claude
he's gonna want these guys to figure it out quick.
And it looks like Stifel almost just came to a stop. Not sure what happened there, but yeah, that was a battle for position.
I'm gonna guess he had a blue flag and was probably trying to honor that. But here comes Michael's gonna pit. He's got to. We're at 55 minutes into the race, so this is definitely gonna be his last lap.
Yeah, so here he is coming into the pits now, coming in right now as we speak, and he will come in probably. I'll report on whether or not he goes up on the jacks, but I'm thinking this is going to be gas and go, and then we're going to want to see where he comes out relative to Tanaka and Ramirez, because that's kind of the battle. Really, it's Tanaka is who he's got to watch. So we'll see. We'll report on that live here. We'll sit here and kind of watch Michael take this pit stop. See how he's going up on jacks though, Mark. So maybe he is taking 2 tires or something.
It'll be free 2 tires, so he'll definitely take those. Hunter McRoby's in the pits as the AM leader as well, and he's also taking tires. But yeah, I think taking 2 is a no-brainer because it's free with the amount of fuel that you're going to need. But 4 maybe especially at this late in the race, that's the gamble that probably you're not going to take. And we see him leaving the pits.
And there goes Tanaka. Tanaka jumped him, right? So this is Tanaka here just ahead of him. Michael coming out of the pits. Tanaka's going to be back in that second position. So while Michael was out there and had assumed the lead, Tanaka was putting down some blistering laps because he's come out with about a 2 or 3 second lead now over Michael. So again, this man could come out of it tonight as the new championship leader with the problems that Miguel Colon and Miguel Colon having the issue early in the race with the Sachs curb, and then Paul Darling not being here tonight. Victor Tanaka is certainly going to do everything he can to take advantage of that. He's 25 seconds behind Max Muir, so not a lot to report there. But nonetheless, this is kind of the race amongst everybody but Max.
Yeah, don't look now. Miguel's in 12th overall and looks like 10th in pro. So he's certainly making his way back up the field a little bit.
He is. And I'm assuming we're on with Miguel now. I'm assuming he is going to have to come to the pits a second time because he came in so early. I think that was like maybe at the end of lap 1 when he came in. So I can't imagine he's going to be able to make it.
That's a good point. Yeah, he probably can't make it off that.
Yeah, in fact, he may. We'll watch this here live. He may, as he comes through Sector 3. Miguel, I'm currently showing him in 8th position. He may come to the pits now. This might be about as long as he can make it. I'm seeing one driver who has yet to be on pits at all, and that's Jack Clark, currently in P10. Let's see if we get Miguel to the pits this time by. It looks like he'll go another lap. So no pit yet for Miguel. Maybe we'll keep a close eye on that. Here's Jack Clark. Jack Clark is coming in now. So this is our last car, other than the Miguel Colon situation, to come into the pits, and then that's going to have everybody having been in at least once. And Miguel, of course, was in for a fast repair and some damage. So yeah, let's check in on our AM class again. We'll start again with our leader here, Hunter McRoby. He's been on to the pits. He's come off. We got about 20 minutes left in this race. He is out front and setting a phenomenal pace. He finds himself right now with about a 10-second lead over this man. This is Scott Kennedy and the Dog Bear Audi in second. Scott having a really strong race. Scott is the points leader in the AM division, so continuing to look really, really strong. Gabriel Albano is in third position. He is back a little. These guys are spread out. There's about 10 seconds between each of them, so a little bit of a spread between the AM drivers, but solid runs for all three of these. Jeffrey Adams is in fourth position tonight. Joe Stifel, who we talked about earlier, is in fifth position. I'm going to go all the way back to 10th place just to give some updates on some of these drivers. Billy Massengale, I know some of the folks out on Twitch were asking about Billy. He's in sixth position tonight. Larry Ford has battled his way back up to to 7th in this race, Mark. So Larry, all that trouble early, but he had the pace, and he's back up to 7th position. So he's got to feel at least a little better about that. Maybe not a podium tonight, but maybe a top 5 if he plays his cards right.
Yeah, that's what we said since the beginning. He had pace, had some stuff that wasn't really his fault, but that pace showed through. He put his head down and kept it together. I just watched Mike Tyler have a little bit of contact there. A car spun right in front of him. Looks like Dave Slee in the last corner got loose and just kind of slid through the corner, and Mike was right behind him. Mike,
let's see if I can
carrying on
find
without issue, and Dave,
I think I can. Here it is. Actually, we ride on board with. This is riding on board with Dave Slee, and here comes Mike Tyler, and he just like you said, he had nowhere to go. Nothing Mike could do there. Let's go back and look at a replay of that again. Let's try to watch it. Oh, and just Mike couldn't do anything. So let's take a look here at Mike after that and see how the car looks, Mark. I'll go to the front end of it. It looks like he got lucky. That looked like a hard hit, but I don't really see any damage on Mike Tyler's car.
Yeah, he might have gotten lucky as Dave was kind of sliding off to the right, that it wasn't as flush of a hit as it kind of looked like initially.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at in the AM class. Larry Ford, who we talked about. By the way, Miguel Colon is on pit road now. So this is Miguel. He's dropped back to 22nd position and dropping. So he's having to take fuel. He's taking a couple of tires. And so, he's just not going to be happy with that sausage curb. Same as DJ Alessandrini. The sausage curb really bit a couple of these guys. I mean, in fact, that's Max Muir behind him coming to lap him. Would you have ever thought we'd be talking about Miguel Colon being lapped in a race?
That's pretty rare.
Yeah. Boy, he's got to be beside himself over this. But it happens. That's why it's a long season. You got to just kind of stick with it. Miguel, he's the last car on the lead lap right now. It'll be interesting to see what he does here. Pride, gets the better of him, and he tries to race a little bit with Max, or if he, he'd be smart to just kind of let Max go. Max is new enough to the league that he hasn't been in enough races, so he's no threat in the championship. He's just not going to have enough races. So probably best if Max gets up here to Miguel to just kind of let him go and live to fight another day. And take this as a learning session, because he'll be in this GT3 car, Miguel Colon, come Sunday in the IRTES race, where I know he'll want a better effort.
I bet he doesn't hit a single sausage curb on Sunday. One thing I was going to point out here, Max, I kind of mentioned earlier, as long as he kind of just minds himself, he's got this thing wrapped up. I saw him almost hit a car coming into the pits because he was trying to siphon off that last little bit of draft, so he's not giving up. He is pushing 10-10, which that's, with these guys, that's usually their MO. They're going to stay going as quick as they can, and that's why they're at the top of the field.
Yeah, busy track, too. Here you can see this is Max Muir that we ride along with. He's behind Miguel Colon, car coming out of the pits, one of the Can-Am cars. A lot of cars still running. We started tonight with a 38-car field, and by my count, I show 34 of them still running, maybe 33. Tim Collier is still connected, but he is sitting on pit road. Tim, one of the admins, so he may just be here for that, but 13 laps down. But not a lot of attrition. There's been a lot of issues. Guys have had trouble, and there's a lot of drivers that are just not having the kind of runs they want to have. Another one we talked about, I want to go back to Joshua Burke here. This is Joshua in this orange and black Audi. One of our front runners in the AM points battle, but best he's been able to do is 22nd tonight. So, we saw with DJ Alessandrini. We've seen the trouble from Miguel Colon. We've seen this gentleman, Josh Burke, having trouble. So this is just a track that it either suits you or it doesn't. And I can imagine kind of like loathing it and hating it if you just don't have an eye for it. And to your point, Mark, maybe it's some of the equipment making a difference for a few of these guys.
Yeah, that'll definitely contribute, and it's one of those tracks. It's got sweepers, it's got transitions left and right. as I was kind of doing a little bit of practice today, trying to decide whether I wanted my car loose or tight, I think having a little bit of a tight car is the way to go for a long race, just so that feel comfortable in it. And if you go a little bit looser, thinking, hey, it feels quicker, it may, but as those tires go, it may become more of a handful than you were prepared for. So that's kind of the challenge of running for an hour and 15 minutes. Looks like Joshua got his damage fixed when he pitted, and he's actually set his quickest lap just 3 laps ago. He ran a 136.025 as his quickest lap, and he was in the 136s a little bit still with the damage, but he's obviously a little bit quicker now, and he's got Rafael Sosa lined up here. He may get by him quickly.
Yeah, he could. Let's see if he's able to get back live with him. That's Rafael Sosa just ahead of him as we kind of ride from our drone view. We were riding along live there for a minute with John Reimerchuk back in 33rd position, pounded the wall coming out of the last corner. John, a rookie in iRacing, we've talked about him a few times this season. Again, kind of a testament to CMS welcoming all skill levels. John continues to improve and learn, but finds himself 1 lap down and a hard hit there. But yeah, Burke is he's going to get what he can out of this. If he can kind of end up coming home, top 20 in this thing, that'll be a good thing for him. And if we count that backwards, it's top 20 overall for, is kind of what he finds himself in 21st now. And to give you an idea of where this man runs in the class battle, we've got Hunter McRoby out front, Scott Kennedy in 2nd, Albano in 3rd, Jeffrey Adams in 4th, Joe Stifle 5th, Larry Ford 7th. And so he's in 8th position, which is, still a top 10 run for him. And, it's not going to be the end of the world if that's where he ends up finishing tonight.
Yeah, sometimes being in the midfield, it's so competitive. Sometimes you could be in 10th, sometimes you could be in 20th and still feel like you had a good race. Jumping back real quick on Twitch, the Billy Massengale fan club wanted to know what happened once again.
All right, let's go back and
he had a little bit of an issue back on lap 36 and lost a few spots with a half spin there.
Yep, I've got it. Let's go back and see here. Here he is. I think that's going to confirm exactly what you just said. Yep. Oh, and Larry Ford just barely stays off of him. Billy 2 feet in. It's going to stay off the wall. Lost 4 or 5 positions. Man, he's just a couple of times where he's been out on edge. I don't know if that was a position with Larry Ford. It may have been when that happened.
It was.
Yeah. So it's gonna put Larry, who we go back here with again. We've talked a lot about Larry tonight. One of the drivers we've been featuring. Just we like to tell stories about people, and Larry's got that opportunity for the top 5. So continuing to gain on it. Car looks good. We'll certainly be pulling for him. He's got some work left to do. The next car on track that he has to pass is Miguel Colon. So each one of these cars, and you can see behind him, Max Muir is coming through a ton of traffic. And here it is. We talked about it. Trying to get around Cologne. I saw a flash out of Muir. That's a lap car in between them. Max has got to be careful. Oh, and John Rymacek is around again in the same corner. So Max has got nothing but risk here right now, Mark.
Yeah, that's the problem as a leader. You've got to watch out. You've got to be careful. I'm watching Max here, still hunting down Miguel Colon.
Yeah, and Miguel may strategically be saying he's not going to let him, he's going to make him work for it, hoping maybe Max gets a little frustrated and makes a mistake. Because why wouldn't he, is probably what he's thinking. I don't think, it's one thing to get to someone, it's another thing to pass them. These drivers are going to be, fairly equal. Even though Max has been a little bit faster than everybody tonight, and that's added up to a significant lead. It's he hasn't had to pass anybody really. He's been out front the whole time.
Yeah, I mean we know Max and Miguel have very similar pace, and like you say, Max is new to the league, but running with Miguel as long as I know he's a respectful guy, so he's certainly not going to do anything untoward as far as holding him up. But like you say, he may not make it incredibly easy, and that's his right to do, is to be on track just as much. So he's certainly going to be extracting everything he can out of the Mercedes to try and stay on that lead lap. And like you say, if Max gets frustrated and makes a mistake or something like that, that could be one more spot. You never know for Miguel. But I'm sure if Max gets too much alongside of him, Miguel's not gonna battle him too hard.
Yeah, and it looks like that may actually happen now.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here in just a second.
Yeah, it looks like, and that's Joe Stifle just ahead of them. So each one of these cars that he's catching, are guys who are, A, have some pace, and B, are in battles of their own. That's a position, even though that's an AM and a pro driver, Miguel Colon and Joe Stifle are racing for position. So they can't, and Miguel needs that position because he needs those points. And he's not going to be able to just lay over here and let Max go around him. And I think Max has kind of figured that out. Max is showing that he's got the racecraft and the awareness, which is why he's a front runner, to be able to know, hey, those are two guys battling for points. I don't want any part of this right now. If I find my way around, I find my way around. But I've got a 27-second lead in this race. I don't need to do anything dumb.
Yeah, I mean, you imagine a guy that's got the pace to be that far up in the race. Unless you're doing a rookie MX5 race, you probably have the racecraft skills to say, hey, I'm going to sit back here. I mean, there's just literally no point in making any kind of move here with two guys battling in front of you.
There's really not,
sit back. I mean, you've got, 6-8 minutes left in the race, something like that, maybe 10. And so just sit here, watch the race in front of you, make sure you're far enough back. If they have trouble, you have an escape path, so you don't ruin your own race with contact. And then other than that, sit back here. I mean, there's no reason to push.
Absolutely. And even if you're a second, off what you normally would run while these guys are battling, you've got the gap to do it. So this is really cool here. We're going to watch Miguel Colon. He's going to get the draft on Joe Stifle. This is for position. Miguel going to get up alongside of him going down into one. We're on board with Miguel. I think he's going to have this position here. Stifle gonna fight him, it looks like, maybe realizing here, Stifle under a lot of pressure right now. He's under this pressure for position. He's also got the overall leader behind him, and really, from kudos to Joe, he's doing a phenomenal job sort of keeping his cool.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure when you're racing somebody like Miguel for position. He's quicker than you. You don't want to give up at the same time, but a guy like Miguel is going to get around you.
Yeah, car off up ahead there.
It
looked like, let's see who that is. That looked like it was Jose Carrera again. So, boy, he has really struggled after running up front. So I don't, at least if anything, hopefully he's getting it all out of his system before the race on Sunday. But not having a race. This is a driver who's capable of winning these races, finds himself in 24th position. I do want to report... here, Mark, this battle has gotten a little closer again. Michael Parker is chasing down Victor Tanaka. He's been a little bit faster, each of the last 3, 4, 5 laps. And, not a lot of time to do it, but could get up there, and we might see an exciting finish of these two for second position.
Yeah, kind of looking through the field right now as I kind of click through, and that looks like our closest battle at the moment, unless some of the lap cars are a little bit closer, and they may be kind of tucking in there. Going back to Max just a little bit, he's gotten around now, Joe Stifle, and he was flashing him. He was ready to get around him and kind of continue his hunt of lapping Miguel here. So as much as I would sit back there, I'm also not leading the race, and Max is. So who am I to judge?
Yeah, and Miguel finds himself in 16th position now.
I was going to say that spin by Jose, I believe, would have given Miguel, actually several people, Miguel down through Billy Massengale getting a spot back as Jose Carrera's back on track, but those 5 or 6 guys all got around him as he is off the side of the road. Yeah,
let me do a shout out to a few of the guys who we haven't talked about tonight, but that are quietly having really good races. Here's one of them here right now. 15th position overall, solid top 10 run in the pro class, or just on the edge of the top 10, is Kevin Ayers on the Ghost team. We love Kevin, such a super active member in the community. runs for CMS with our branding as part of the CMS Ghosts team. Ran an AM class last year, has made the jump up to pro. Quietly has just put on a great race. He's ahead of Miguel Colon, and I think Kevin's going to, do everything he can to keep Miguel behind him. That would be a personal accomplishment to keep Miguel behind him, and just kind of, you got to pick guys, that you just set targets on, and would be a great finish for him to stay right here, in this slot.
So, yeah, anytime you're in the top, basically almost third of the field, I think you have to count that as a victory with this group. With the people that you kind of looked at are in front of him and the people that he's beaten right now. You may say 15th, but that's the top third, and that's, I think, for us mid-pack guys, that's kind of where you look to be and say, hey, that's, maybe not the exact finish I wanted, but it's a good result and a solid result. And when you kind of look at his lap times and his consistency, I don't see any issues. Where a lot of these guys, we've seen issues, right? We've seen half spins, we've seen curb hops, we've seen car contacts, and Kevin's here just putting in 136s all day long.
Yeah, and this is the kind of driver we like when it comes to endurance races. It's, as we know, we've got the iRacing Team Endurance Series, IRTES, coming up on Sunday. Those races are longer. They're still what we would call sprint enduros at only 3 hours, but Kevin will be driving for the CMS team as part of the 24 hours of Nürburgring, and I know that that's going to be a fun event, and we're excited to have him as a teammate. And it's these drivers that can be super consistent, are the ones, Mark, that you want on those teams for sure.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get into an endurance, but again, even this race, at an hour and 15 minutes. It's not an endurance by any means, but it's also not a 20-minute fixed Ferrari race, where you've just got to go as fast as you can with no consideration for any kind of strategy. These guys are thinking about tires. They're thinking about what kind of fuel usage they've got. Do you pit early? Do you pit late? Do you pit in the middle? And there's a lot going on that when you can have consistent lap times, you can take advantage of those kind of things. If you're inconsistent, saving 5 seconds on a pit stop by doing an undercut, but you throw away 10 seconds on a half spin, doesn't make any sense, right? So if you can put together consistent lap times like he does, that lets you have strategy picks and take advantage of them.
It does. So we're getting to the end of the race. We're going to go up and kind of call down the leaders as they come through, and we'll go all the way back in the field like we do each week. But before I do that, I'll call out two other drivers here that are quietly having really good runs. This is Edward Nelson and his Porsche, currently in 7th position overall, having a super race. Great run for Edward. Haven't talked about him a whole lot tonight, so really good job.
Is he the only Porsche in the field?
I don't think he's the only. I know David Nelson is in a Porsche.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's not a ton of Porsches. Justin Hess is the other one. We talked about Justin back in qualifying tonight. Had a solid run. Is in 5th position. Has been really strong. Continuing to have great runs. Kind of like you said earlier, Mark, finding himself, kind of in that top 5.
Ooh, Drew Lidke just went off. Had a big wreck.
Okay, let's see if we can see what happened there. Here's Drew Lidke here now, side by side. James Gong. Oh no. That's not good. I think that probably was for position with James Gong.
It was.
Yeah, Drew is not going to be happy with that. Looks like he's going to continue on, but in a wounded fashion. Okay, this looks like Miguel Colon leading the race, but he's not leading the race, folks. That's Max Muir behind him to put him a lap down. And I think at this point, Miguel has decided he's going to try to stay in front so that he can get that lap, which is also another thing that will help, is I think we're going to see a white flag this time by, and or we may actually see a checkered. I'm trying to see where these guys are. I think we might see a checkered right here. Yeah, we will. We will get a checkered flag here for Max Muir. I'm almost certain of it. So we'll see him come in. Miguel Colon's going to get to do another lap. So we'll call Miguel in as we go through the field to call in our top 20. But we're going to start here with Max Muir. And I'm just going to call them all in, Mark, and we'll give these guys kudos all the way down to 20th position overall in the race.
Yeah, real quick, you bring up a good point. This is the last lap. and Miguel as Max gets by him. So never mind. So I was going to say he gets to finish that lap, but Miguel has let Max go.
Maybe just saying he doesn't want to
Just
have to mess with it any longer,
maybe,
right?
yeah.
You know, which is where I would have thought that Miguel would have wanted. Yeah, there's Max letting him go there. I would have thought that he would have wanted to let Max stay behind him, or have Max stay behind him, so that he could, you know, if something happened to anybody ahead, he'd have that. But he may have just been done with this track. This is a grueling track. Okay, this is Victor Tanaka. Victor Tanaka in second. So we saw Max Muir. He's across. He was going side to side as our winner. His second win in a row, a phenomenal run for him. This is second and third place right here. Victor Tanaka looks like he will likely hold off Michael Parker. This is both of them coming to the line. Second and third position. Really, really solid runs. They come across. Here comes Jose Ramirez. He's going to be coming off the last corner in fourth position. Jose will come all the way down the start-finish line. He will be followed just behind him. You can see coming off the last corner now will be our AM winner. This is Hunter McRoby. He's got Justin Hess behind him, Edward Nelson, Scott Kennedy. All these guys coming across now. So good runs for all these drivers. Here comes James Gong back in ninth position. James will come off. Gabriel Albano coming around, take the last corner. Kind of catching him in the last corner because it's such a long straightaway. JT Tammy right behind him in 11th position overall. Drew Lidke looks like he's going to hold on after that big accident for 12th position, but lost a few spots there. Claude Vilval in a big battle here. Actually, that's not a battle. That's him lapping Mike Tyler. This is Claude Baval coming around. He'll be in 13th. Jeffrey Adams coming down the straight in 14th with Kevin Ayers. That is a positional battle. This is a tight battle coming to the end. Miguel Colon, who we saw, was already in 16th. Larry Ford now is coming around the last corner. We talked a lot about Larry. Looks like he did get past Joe Stifel. So Larry, he did what we thought he would do. He kind of came up here, got around Joe Stifel at the end. And how about that? Larry Ford with a solid run. Joshua Burke. And all the way back, Stephen Yanni coming off the last corner as well. So, wow, what a great race, Mark. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was interesting. You know, there's a lot of different stuff going on. You kind of watching Michael Parker. He got within a half a second of Victor Tanaka as they came to the line. You know, you think, could we have gotten 5 more minutes? What would have happened there? You know, the rest of the field kind of strung out just a little bit, but there were good battles up and down the field all day long. Lots of consistent drives, a few mistakes here and there from some different folks, but yeah, really fun.
Yeah,
I wish I was out there, but I had really fun doing this too.
Yeah, I do too. You know, I've felt like it's helped to have the broadcast. Folks have really enjoyed it, and so we've just decided that it's time well spent to do these. So quick rundown here, and then Mark and I will spend a few minutes kind of wrapping things up and looking ahead to IRTS. We're not going to have any drivers interviews tonight, just given the length of the race and trying to keep things within a certain time frame. But congrats again to our overall winner, Max Muir, his second win in a row. Victor Tanaka finishes in second place tonight. Victor's going to take a huge leap forward in the championship battle, may find himself as the new championship leader going into next round. Michael Parker in third position. Jose Ramirez comes in as a prep run for IRTES and finishes in fourth. And then Hunter McRoby in fifth overall and also the winner in the AM class. So that's our top 5. If we go all the way back down to the top 10, we've got Justin Hess in sixth position, Edward Nelson in seventh, Scott Kennedy in eighth, which was also second in the amateur class. Ninth position goes to James Gong. Another strong outing for him in the championship. And then Gabriel Albano finishes in 10th position and the last of the podiums in the AM class. So some great racing. 41 drivers gave it a shot tonight. We did have, it looks like 3 drivers who did not take the green flag. Brett Chosen, Derek Wynn, and Paul Castillo. So not sure what happened there, but we had 38 drivers who did take the green flag in the race. A few notables to point out. DJ Alessandrini with a tough race finished in 37th position. Tim Collier in 34th position, a tough race for him as well. We were missing Paul Darling tonight. He was unable to make the race, came in as our championship leader. So, Mark, I think we're going to see a shuffle in the points for sure. Probably in both classes. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you get a long season, and I think that's one of the rewarding things of doing league races as well, is you get those season long points, and everybody has life things go on. You got to miss a race here and there, but sometimes you just have a bad race, and like any season long championship, it's not the guy that wins the most races. It's the guy that gets the most points, and you get those by being consistent. So when you're not winning, are you in the top five, or are you down at the bottom because you're wrecked out? And that's going to be kind of what decides that championship.
Absolutely. And so this series will have 4 more races. We'll be at Interlagos on May 3rd, Nürburgring after that, Le Mans, and then Suzuka to finish it up, which will be another 75-minute race. Well, a couple of housekeeping things. First and foremost, thanks to simrace247.com for their sponsorship of the series. Give their website a look and a bookmark, folks. We couldn't make this possible without all of you as drivers and listeners and viewers, as well as our partners like simrace247.com. Mark, I want to thank you. Man, you were a natural here tonight. You fit right in, and thanks for being here with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry Ryan had to miss it, but it was fun to jump in and get to see the race from this side of things, and I'll try and do it again. I with my weird schedule can't make all the races, so usually the season-long championship is nothing I'm really paying attention to, just because I know I'm going to have to miss so many races. But fun, to get to watch it from this side. I know a lot of these guys race with a lot of these guys, and while it's fun to do that, it's a nice change of pace to do this. I'll tell you, I'm a lot less sweaty doing this than I am in the car. But I see here, again, just kind of looking at the Discord, Tim Collier says, stupid Windows update. I did see him have a disconnect mid-race.
No.
So that's going to be what cost him, nothing that was his own trouble, just the old computer. But, you can count that as like maybe like a dropped valve in a real motor.
It's
sort of right?
Yep, it's sort of the sim racing version of a mechanical, and it happens. I know you and I have been racing together. I remember you had to pull over on the side of the road at Spa one time and do a wheel change or something. It's kind of just part of it, and it happens. Well, the other thing, Mark, too, is I think we would be remiss if we didn't just spend a couple of minutes here looking ahead to this weekend. And I've got some data pulled up here. We will be at iRacing Team Endurance Series Round 2 at Fuji this Sunday. Again, will be broadcast by Apex Sim Racing TV. Be sure to check that out on the CMS YouTube channel, as well as look them up. Not too late to get in on that race, by the way. We are still taking a few cars. The field is full, but we've made an exception if anybody wants to get a team in last minute. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about and just talk about for a minute is, we'll have 3 classes in that race. So we'll see LMDH, we'll see LMP2, which is I know where you'll be driving, and then we'll also see these GT3 cars. And I'm looking at the points coming out of Daytona. RD Sim Sport 4, currently the point leaders with a win at Daytona. That Tempest Sim Sport team, though, they're in second place. They had a second place podium, and we saw Jose Ramirez and Jose Correa both here tonight, even though Correa had a lot of trouble. I didn't see the RD Sim Sport here, guys, tonight. So do you think that's an advantage for I feel like it's got to be for the Tempest Sim Sport guys, even if it was not the race they wanted. They were here logging laps tonight and learning.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think anytime you can put real world track time of a race under your belt, you learn so much. I mean, you can do practice all day long, and you can get data, you can get tire wear, but there's something about being on track with other cars. The only thing you're going to miss in this series versus IRTS, obviously, is the multi-class aspect of it, and that's going to be, I think, on Sunday what the big challenge is at this track. There are, obviously long straights where the quicker cars can get by without issue, but there's also, that last sector. If you're in a prototype and you get to a GT3 in the wrong spot, it's going to be a tough challenge to try and get back by them without costing yourself any time, without having any contact that's going to lead to a penalty. And the tricky part and especially in the LMDH versus and the LMP2 a little bit, but more the LMDH, the brakes are very, very sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
You can quickly lock the rears, and so coming into turn one, you're trying to outbrake somebody, it's real easy to lock the rears. And the same thing through sector three. If you're trying to kind of dive under a GT3 in one of those switchbacks, you can make a quick mistake and all of a sudden you're facing backwards. So that's going to be the big challenge on Sunday is the multi-class. I'll kind of selfishly say we're in LMP2, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think there might be a couple spots in that class, and it's a great little field in LMP2. So if you kind of want to get into what I've read is one of the better cars or one of the best cars in iRacing, it's a good series there.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though like the LMP2 class is the smallest of the three classes on the series, I think we've got about 9 cars or so. We have a new entry coming in this week. It's a group of real experienced sim racers and some great battles that we're going to see happen. And by the way, an error on my part as we kind of wrap up here. Yeah, I mentioned Tempest Sim Sport. That's actually the 2Pi Racing team. They have similar names as I look at the IRTES standings. It's TPRT are the guys that were here tonight. They are in third place. They had a podium at Daytona. Sim Racing PR, another team, that's Miguel Colon, and we saw Miguel on a great recovery drive, so they got a lot of experience here tonight. The Dog Bear guys are another GT3 team here we saw tonight, as well as Can-Am Racing. The CMS Racing Ghosts were in the field tonight. We talked about Kevin Ayers. We also talked about Larry Ford and Mike Tyler. They will be on the grid on Sunday in GT3 in the Lamborghini, so they got good practice tonight. If we take a quick look over at LMP2, Mark, where you talked about your team coming in third position behind 100 Force and Tempest Sim Sport. So I know you and Brett will be in the car, and I know you guys are hard at work on practice. So excited to see you out there. I bet you're jumping to get out there now after watching this tonight.
Yes and no. I mean, it looked like a pretty challenging race, and a very, very challenging track. So, I'm excited for it. We've got a good field in the LMP2. Daytona was a lot of fun. We saw some pit strategy changes. We saw some people with, even driver change strategies that were a little bit different than ours. And I think that's where, especially on the 3-hour race, and with the fuel of the LMP2, being quite a bit short of an hour, you do have some flexibility in what your stints look like there. And Brett and I are pretty close in pace, but some teams it's not so much. And so do you put the fast guy in at the beginning or the end or in the middle or whatever? And so we saw some kind of we saw where we were in fourth or fifth for a long time, dumped up the third as other teams had to pit and made some strategy. Maybe missteps, and we were able to take advantage of it and finish in third. So if we put that on, and especially if one of the top teams has an issue, and we saw I don't remember which team it was, but somebody had an issue. Of course, they were quick enough; they got back by us. But if they have an issue where possibly they're out of the race or whatever the case may be, that puts us in a really good spot for a second, third place finish. And then, like I talked about, that's where you want to be for the championship.
Right,
you want to be, in that top group, so that you're there at the end.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want to do. And that was 100 Force, who was the team that Mark talked about that had some trouble, ended up getting back around the Longhorn team. And then in the LMDH class, we had a phenomenal race in round one. Satellite Racing took the defending champions took the win. RD Sim Sport was in second, and the Penguin RC Simulation team in third. So I'm excited about it. I know you are too. So everybody be sure to tune into that. And for now, Mark and I will wrap up. Mark, again, thank you. Appreciate you being here. And maybe, like you said, you and me and Ryan, maybe we might be able to figure out a way to get 3 of us in the booth in one of these events coming up.
Yeah, that'd be a blast for sure. One thing I'll point out real quick, and I know you're trying to get off here, but I'm looking at the Discord one more time, and I think I see 3 drivers complaining about a 40-second penalty for unsafe pit entry. So we talked about the people that are doing this race today to get seat time. That's another thing that doing a race versus practice, because doing practice, you may practice your pit entry a little bit, but you're not doing it in the heat of battle. And so get a pit entry in the heat of battle, and you get that penalty, once again, these 3, 4 drivers and their teammates are not going to make that mistake on Sunday. Whereas somebody that missed this race, doesn't watch this race, doesn't do their research on that, may make that penalty and cost themselves.
Absolutely, and that'll be something that the drivers that were here tonight will have a head start on. Of course, we'll cover that type of thing in the drivers' meeting with the admins on Sunday. But it's they can complain about it as much as they want to, but that line is there, and it's there for a reason, and it's called out, and you just got to not go over it, and or it's a penalty. And we saw that happen to Miguel Colon. Not only did he hit the sausage curb, he then had to get to the pits. He cut across the line. It's kind of one thing led to another, and that cost him a whole lot of time. So fascinating for sure. Thanks for pointing that out, Mark. All right, well, we are done for the night, so I will say goodnight for Mark and goodnight for myself, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. We will see you this Sunday at IRTES, and we'll see you back here next week on the Sprint Series. Good night, everyone.